Thank you everyone for joining today. Welcome. I'm Melissa McKenna, one of the product managers here at Cadient Talent. At Cadient, and just wanted to say thank you everybody for joining today's webinar. This is the third webinar in the Cadient Clinic series, and we're going to be addressing how adding texting can improve your hiring process and alleviate sticking points. So let's go ahead and get started. So first, we're going to review some of today's common hiring process steps. They range from attracting applicants, engaging applicant questions, contacting applicants, interviewing, scheduling interviews, background checks, drug checks, offer letter negotiations, and onboarding, and then finally hire. Common hiring process sticking points circle around effective and timely communication. Historical communication methods like letters, email, and phone calls take time to engage an applicant and can be harder for those applicants to respond. Attracting applicants by communicating about current job openings, job requirements, pay and benefits, etc. And the vast majority of today's society uses smartphones and expect timely communications. Sometimes slow communication is the difference in keeping an applicant engaged and completing that hire. And the applicant experience is so important. First impressions matter, and communication methods are representative of your business culture. Meeting applicants on technologies they are most comfortable with can increase engagement. Now, let's go ahead and do a quick poll. And I'd love to get some feedback from the audience on where they're struggling in the hiring process. We're going to pause here for just a few minutes while we ask you guys to answer this question. What are the common areas you are looking to improve your hiring process? Wow, okay. It looks like 46% of you were attracting talent. That's really good to hear. Let's see how we can help. Okay, and communicating with prospective applicants, the 34%, and that's exactly what we were expecting. So okay, great. Let's keep going. Now, text recruiting. With everyone using smartphones and carrying them on their person, quicker communication is possible. Studies have shown that applicants prefer communicating via text over other methods. Now, these numbers really speak for themselves, but I'm going to walk you through some of the benefits. So, SMS or sending text messages enhances the candidate experience. Candidates who receive text messages from recruiters rate their experience 50% higher than those who did not receive text messages, according to a Career Builder study. And it has higher open rates. SMS open rates are 98%, nearly 4 times that of email, with an average response rate of 45%, which is nearly 8 times that of email, according to a report by Mobile Market Watch. And it has quicker engagement. Most texts are read within 3 minutes of being received, with an average response time of 90 seconds, according to a report by Gartner. And employee engagement. 60% of employers are currently engaging in text messaging with candidates based on a finding from JobVite 2023 Recruitment Benchmark Report. And more than 74% of job seekers utilize email on their smartphones. And 70% of applicants want texting over email. Some other benefits, again, is the speed. Imagine no more lost letters in the mail, no more checking voicemail or searching for that email that's in your junk folder. On average, text messages are read within 3 minutes of delivery, and this reduces time to hire by speeding up those hiring process steps like contacting and interview scheduling and screening. And texts feel more personal than other methods of communication, which is important in the hiring process. Text can be used to maintain engagement with candidates throughout the hiring process. This includes past candidates who can be a great source of qualified talent. And texting can help new hires have a more positive onboarding experience. So what does the hiring process look like when adding texting? So what does adding texting look like in the hiring process? It looks like job announcements. Once the candidate has opted in, you can inform them of new job openings. It includes text applications. If an applicant wants a quick way to show their interest in a job, they can get the process started. Interview invitations and follow-ups. We've all gotten accustomed to getting schedule reminders via text for places like doctor's offices and haircut appointments. Our candidates will expect that from interview scheduling as well. Candidate status updates. Keeping candidates informed of their applicant status and next steps. Reminders. Reminding candidates about important steps in the hiring process, like interviews, assessments, and onboarding. And referral requests for those who have it set up in their system. You can ask current employees for candidate referrals. Now, I'd like to take a few minutes to talk about the Kadence texting solutions. We have 3 solutions that can be used together or separately. First, I'd like to talk about Kadence texting. This is real-time two-way texting between recruiters and managers and their candidates. This includes scheduled messages and drip campaigns to increase engagement as well as re-engagement with past candidates acting as a CRM. Aptitude research found that clients using texting improved time to hire by 57%. We also have Text Apply, which collects profile details for interested applicants over SMS or web chatbot in less than 1 minute. You've probably seen a poster or a billboard at an on-site location saying, text this keyword to this number. This is the same way that Text Apply works. The prospective applicant becomes part of your applicant pool, and you can invite them to an open position. A Zippia 2023 hiring report suggests a 15% increase in text to apply usage year over year, indicating growth in this method of application. And finally, Text Notify. This is sending system automated messages via text when candidates choose text messaging as their preferred method of notification. The types of messages would include messages such as applicant submission confirmations, password reset requests, and hiring process status updates. Over 55% of applicants opt in to automated text messages. Okay, I'd like to also take another poll here. We're going to ask everyone, do you currently use texting within your hiring process? Okay, we can go ahead and close the poll. And let's see those results. Okay, 41% say I currently use texting in my hiring process, which is what we would expect. So that's great. And some but no formal process. Well, I'm glad you're here so you can learn more about how we can help. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll. And let's keep going. So let's review some of the tips and things to remember when texting. When sending text messages for employment purposes, there are some important practices and rules to keep in mind. One is personalize your messages. Including the candidate's name can increase engagement, as personalizing messages can improve response rates by up to 20%, according to an Epsilon report. And remember that texting is a tool in your communication toolkit. Switch to phone calls and email for those more in-depth conversations. Make sure that your content is prevalent and valuable to the recipient. Text carriers require text to align with their stated purpose. And Avoid over texting by limiting conversations to just a few text messages and using clear and concise communication. And provide an opt-out option. Allowing applicants to easily opt out of receiving messages ensures compliance with regulations like TCPA, CTIA, CASL, and GDPR. And for phone number collection, ensure that applicant provided phone numbers are being used for job-related communications. For example, phone numbers collected from voter registration or coupon clubs cannot be used to advertise job openings via text. Now, for the opt-out section, I gave some acronyms, and not everybody might not be aware of what those are, so I'm going to review them. TCPA is the Telephone Consumer Protection Act. This regulates all telephone solicitation, including text messages, and violating these regulations can result in stiff penalties. CTIA is the Cellular Communication Industry Association, and it has established guidelines which not legally required per se, but phone carriers reserve the right to block any senders who do not comply to these regulations and guidelines. And then CASL, that's CASL. That's the that is Canada's anti-spam legislation. Further regulations and requirements that must be followed when sending text messages in Canada. And the well-known Europe's GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation. It isn't just about data privacy, but also has specific requirements when it comes to text messaging. And the reason why I know all these acronyms and regulations so very well is because Kadient has developed our texting products with all of these in mind. Now, our last poll. I'm really interested in getting your feedback on these. Where do you see texting fitting into your hiring process? Okay, it looks like 49% said real-time two-way texting and automated messaging, and that's 33, 18 for recruitment campaigns. This is really great feedback. If you are interested in any of the Kadient texting solution products, please feel free to reach out to one of our sales team members. And now I'm going to go ahead and open it up for questions after I close this. So now I'm going to go ahead and open it up for questions. Okay, looks like we got one, which is can an applicant opt back into texting? Yes. There are some standard words, like for opting out, it's stop. And if an applicant wants to opt back in to texting, they can send a keyword of restart or unstop. And that's standard across many of the texting regulations. So, we have another question. What is the recommended length of a text? 164, I think it's 164 characters is the length of a single SMS message. And if it's longer than that, it will be separated into two, but most common cell phones will match multiple messages together. So if we go back like 15, 20 years, they would be sent as individual text messages and separated, but most of the current smartphones will combine them. And it looks like we have another question. Can we get a feature that will notify our work email when someone responds to a text? Is not knowing when someone has responded. Okay. I think that is, we have text notifications when it comes to our Kadient texting solution. For that, there are in-browser notifications, and I know that there are some enhancements that we're hoping to have around that. Is Kadient texting software able to attach files and images to texting campaigns? At this time, we are unable to attach images and files. It's not currently in our plan, but that can be considered for future expansion. And then another one, can you sort the applicant pool to sort candidates by which ones want text messaging and prefer not to receive text messages? Yes, I think you can. I'd recommend reaching out to our support team to get more assistance related to that question. And I want to make sure I got all of them. If someone says no to receiving consent, why? Okay. I think there was one question here. If someone says no to consent in the application, why does Kadient texting still allow them? So Kadient texting is going to be separate from the text notify consent. And this kind of leads me to another question, which is, what is the difference between implicit consent and explicit consent? And that might help actually answer that question for you. For text exchanges where the applicant indicates, such as text apply, where they initiate the conversation, that's what we consider explicit opt-in. And for texting products that use automated messaging, we have a separate opt-in or explicit opt-in language built in. And that's where it aligns with the CTIA and CASL requirements. But for the person-to-person messaging, like Kadient texting, the phone number being provided on the application is being collected as part of the application or for job-related purposes. These are implicit opt-ins because that phone number was provided for the job application. So if you're reaching out for job-related information or questions, then it's implied that you can use that number. But we immediately follow it up. The first message, we immediately follow it up with opt-out instructions. So if that person does not want to receive text messages from the Kadient texting solution, they can send stop. And then they can restart it with sending restart. Okay. Let's see if I hope that's answered your question. Looks like we've got quite a few. And the next slide, I've got some information about our sales team, if you want to reach out, or any contact information. And then I'll get to that in just a minute. I have one more question I want to get to, and then we're going to go ahead and close the questions for today. And that is there a way to get notified when a candidate texts back in Kadient? And that is correct. Yes, in our Kadient texting solution, we do have in-browser notifications that notify you when you receive a text message. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next one. So if you do want to reach out to our sales team, here is our number. And I just want to thank everyone for attending today's webinar. And please reach out if you have any questions. You'll receive a copy of this webinar, and feel free to reach out. Thank you all for coming, and I hope you have a wonderful day and a happy Halloween tomorrow. Thank you.